Welcome to Lecture 1. This is where we start the content of the course, and picking up from our last lecture on the structure of logic as the study of inferences. Remember that I said we're going to spend some time on deductive logic, as it's sort of the backbone to getting into inductive logic, which is our course. Um, in general, remember the procedure once again. First, do the reading in the book. So in this case, try chapter 1 in the book. The book is non-negotiable. Once again, I can't emphasize this enough. You need it, not just for the exercises and the content, but some of this stuff shows up on the exam. So you got to have that book to help you out. Anyway, so this lecture on deductive logic, we're going to talk about it. I assume, once again, you've read it, and the video lectures are just there to sort of solidify some of that understanding. The videos are not substitutes for the content of the course, so you've got to be sure that you do that. Okay? So, starting off here, for the first one, what is an argument? If you remember, deductive logic and logic in general is based on arguments. Arguments are reason structures with premises and a conclusion. It's not people yelling at one another. There's a famous quip that says, "Those who don't know how to argue quarrel." Basically, the idea is that if you don't know how to argue in the sense of representing what information you have and what you're drawing out of that, if you can't basically learn to think about the inferences that you're in possession of or that someone is presenting to you, then you end up just fighting. And the whole point is, before we get to that state of fighting, which is easy, it's natural, it's human, other animals do it, we should use what is most important, most valuable to human beings, which is the ability to think, to reason, rather than get mad, especially when you're wrong, and then have to apologize in shame, or worse yet, if you got no shame, you just stubbornly stick with it and increase your pride. That just makes everyone mad. Everyone loses in that case. So an argument, in a sense, is not just a tool for representing what's at stake, what is your interest, what inferences are you drawing, but reason debate, saying, okay, if that's the case, here's what I think, and it's not just my opinion, but my opinion with good reasons, and maybe you should consider it. And someone says, no, 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 I think you're incorrect for this reason. And so that kind of dialogue gets started by recognizing what an argument is, what an inference is, and then how to contest and think about those inferences. Yeah? If you just have opinions, then that's easy. If you believe the world is flat and that's your opinion, you can go around doing that for the rest of your life. There's a society called like Society of Flat Earthers or something like that, but you just be wrong, right? So why not have informed opinions? Nowadays, everyone's got opinions, especially with media, Twitter, whatnot. Very often, they're ill-informed. You need fact checks, and even the fact checks sometimes need fact checks. So recognizing that we're living in a matrix of arguments on top of arguments, inference on top of inference, and yet we don't even realize it. It is critical in this day and age to recognize this structure that's being, as it were, like a virus implanted in your mind and you don't even know it. Okay? So an argument in philosophy is represented as premises and conclusion. Given information, what you draw out of it. There are two types of arguments, as I mentioned in the previous lecture on what logic is about: deductive and inductive. Deductive, again, is the key feature is the conclusion is guaranteed from the premises, right? And if you remember the example I had, all humans are mortal, Socrates is a human, therefore Socrates is mortal. The reason it's valid, the reason it's guaranteed, has actually nothing to do with your knowledge of humanity or mortality or Socrates. It has to do with the form, underlying form. The form for this is all P's are Q, in this case humans, immortal. And then the second one is the form is S is P, in this case Socrates and mortality. Therefore, if all P's are Q and S qualifies as one of those P's, then S must be one of those Q. Why? Because all P's are Q. S is P. Therefore, S is Q. That form indicates why it's valid, why it's guaranteed, not the content as such. Okay? Deductive arguments are valid by virtue of that definition we talked about last time. When you assume the premises are true, are you forced to the conclusion? If you're forced to it, no choice, then that's what makes it valid. And that's what makes it also risk-free. Not risky, but risk-free. Risky arguments, by contrast, are what non-deductive, inductive arguments, our course, is about. To get there, we have to go through this land first. Okay? Next one, we got what I just said. Valid arguments are risk-free. It doesn't have to do with the factual nature of the premises or conclusion. It has to do with the structure of the inference. Assuming the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. Not that, in fact, the premises are true and conclusion true, but on that assumption, the risk-free element lies in the structure of the inference, from premises assumed to be true to conclusion. Soundness is stronger. Soundness says you want something more than just a guaranteed connection. You want to know, are your premises any good? If you got crappy premises, but the conclusion's guaranteed, then you got a guaranteed crappy conclusion. Well, what if you want a good conclusion, not a crappy one? So validity includes that crappy case. You can have crappy premises and a crappy conclusion, and it's risk-free, it's guaranteed, only because the information you got at the start, which is crappy, guarantees the crappiness of the conclusion. But soundness requires more. It says that your premises are in fact true, so that they're verified. You checked it, it's good, right? Like nowadays with your media accounts, you look at something, you like it, hey, thumbs up. What if it's total rubbish? If you're on the mainland somewhere, say in the stereotype is in the deep south, right? It's Trump. I mean, is Obama really a U.S. citizen? For those from Hawaii, we're like, give us a break. Come on. But those who don't know any better don't do any fact checking, and they suck down all these series of inferences, usually built upon pre-existing prejudices. They don't check their inferences. They're not aware that they're not checking it. On and on, that sort of virus perpetuates in various minds and builds and metastasizes into a whole conglomeration of false beliefs. Okay, the two ways to criticize a deductive argument. First, you can challenge the inference. That's basically saying, is the argument valid? Secondly, you can challenge the premises. Is your starting information any good? This parallels the two types of arguments. Valid says you're guaranteed a conclusion. It's risk-free. Soundness says, oh yeah, but what if your argument's crappy? If you got crap going in, you got crap going out. Soundness says, I want more. I want not just validity. I want goodness of premises. So that's correspondingly the two ways to criticize an argument. You can challenge the inference. I don't think your inference is actually guaranteed. I think it's incorrect. Let me give you a counterexample. Or you can challenge the premises. I don't think your starting information is any good. You haven't done any fact checking there, guy. We better look at what you got, because you got crap going in. Is it any wonder that the inferences you're drawing are crap going out? The rest of the lecture looks at types of arguments, and it goes through form. Form is actually critical for both showing validity as well as showing or revealing that an argument is invalid. Okay? To show an argument is valid, you appeal to form. All reptiles are cold-blooded, all R's are C, all birds are reptiles, all B's are R, hence all birds are cold-blooded, all B's are C. Why does this work? Because it connects up. It's just like a train. If all B's are R and all R's are C, then put it through. B connects with R connects with C, so B connects with C, so all B's are C. Yeah. Even if you don't understand anything about reptiles or cold-bloodedness or birds and whatnot. And by the way, this is not actually totally true. Reptiles are cold-blooded. There are warm-blooded reptiles, lo and behold. Contrary to biology, has a lot of exceptions. Interesting field. To show an argument on the other side is invalid, you show that the premises can be true, but conclusion false, meaning you're not forced to the conclusion. You can come up with a counterexample. Okay? The second way to criticize an argument, remember, is challenge the premises. You can say that your starting information is no good. I have got some partially hypothetical examples in the lecture that you guys can read. But the point here is that for deductive arguments, they are risk-free. What makes them risk-free, what makes them deductive, has to do with the form. The form connects up why the conclusion is guaranteed. And on the other side, an invalid argument, an argument that is not deductive, invalid, means that you can have true premises but a false conclusion, meaning you're not forced to the conclusion. So risky, yeah, not guaranteed. That's the key distinction. All right, again, go back to the lecture here, read it through to solidify it, but the better way to go is just to go to the upcoming work, the homework and the quizzes, practice there. And the practice is the key to the course. The lectures are there just to get at concepts, but the practice is the key to all of this. Okay, that's it. We're done.